Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Jay's Fifth Down Football Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Jay Gay, with another edition of the illustrious football podcast known here as Jay's Fifth Down. Today we're going to be recapping Week 3 of the NFL and some more news about the Pro Bowl. I had some changes to that today come out, and Tua Tagovailoa and the whole concussion situation. We'll get into that and what teams are starting to impress so far through 3 weeks here in the 2022 NFL season. But before we get to that, make sure you guys check us out here on YouTube, of course. Subscribe, like, comment, share. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite podcast. That's where we're at, providing you with the latest updates, everything you need to know about NFL, college, and high school. And we are going to be devoted to NFL today, but over the weekend, and we'll get into this in another podcast, but college football had a lot of winners over the weekend, and Kansas is 4-0. So, I think the committee probably needs to rank Kansas right now. It's about time, and, they've been playing really good all season, and they got a good roster, So but we'll get into that for another podcast. But right now, I want to talk about, just a few things here, recapping Week 3. Atlanta Falcons get their first win of the season over the Seattle Seahawks up in Seattle. They win 27-23. It's kind of a iffy slugfest type of game, defensive type of game. Well, not for the Falcons case, but back and forth game between the two. The Seahawks were getting down the field very easily with Geno Smith. He ended up with like 325 passing yards for the day, a couple of touchdowns. Had a pick later in the game, which would end up sealing the victory for Atlanta to go and kneel and call the game. But overall, great game offensively for the team for Atlanta and Seattle. Like I mentioned, Atlanta was able to move the ball pretty well for the most part. A few turnovers like they've been having this year, but you can see it starting to gel along a little bit. Marcus Mariota is learning the system more. He's going downfield more. They got more chances to Kyle Pitts yesterday. Kyle Pitts ended up with 6 catches for 87 yards. So they're trying to get him more involved, and I expect to see that increase over the next couple of games. Drake London had another touchdown, had 6 catches, 54 yards. He continues to emerge as a very, very good rookie, and you see why Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith took him at number 8 in the draft because he's physical, he's very smart, can high point the football, everything that you want in a receiver now in the NFL. He's got speed, something that he can always work on as well, like everybody in the NFL. But he's got the speed, he's got the hands, he's got the physicality. He's like I said, he's willing to go out there and get the football and come down with it, and he's a very intelligent guy as well. So, and for Seattle, it's more of the same. Defense just struggling to get stops, letting everybody run through them. Cordero Patterson finished with 17 carries for 141 yards, which is a career high for him. And with a touchdown as well. And they were just running through that inside zone, just killing the inside-outside zone, just killing the Seahawks, man, up the middle. And they were just getting there wherever hole, just creating holes for Patterson to run through, which is the left side, right side, wherever it was, going outside. He just between the tackles, and that's Arthur Smith's style. And, run first, get that play action going. And, those digs across the middle of the field, 10, 15 yards, intermediate passes across the field. And, that's how the Falcons were able to get their points, just driving up and down the field. And defense came in strong near the end of the game, got an interception off of Geno Smith. It was Richie Grant. It was a 4th down attempt, and Geno got outside the pocket. He was pressured and threw it up there and hoping – he was looking for Tyler Lockett, but Tyler Lockett didn't get it, obviously. Richie Grant did, however, and sealed the game for the Falcons. And they moved to 1-2 on the season. They'll face the Browns next week at home, next Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern time on Fox. And moving on as well, Sunday night cap, Broncos and the 49ers. Very slugfest type of game right here, actually. The really defensive fight right here, battle in the trenches, and just who wanted to win more. A lot of mistakes for the 49ers. They could not convert a third down. I mean, really, they were held to 1 to 10 on third downs. The Broncos defense was just stifling them at the point of attack and just getting after them the whole game. And it looks apparently to be that the defense is going to be the identity for Denver until the offense shows some consistency and they're able to create some sort of identity for themselves and create some sort of establishment for themselves. Have their like teams will pay attention to the Broncos offense as much as their defense. But that hasn't happened yet, and understandably so. Nathaniel Hackett's first year with these players as a head coach, and these players are new to him for the most part, and he's trying to implement his system that he ran in Green Bay here in Denver, and it's going to take a while for those guys to gel. And even Russell Wilson said, "Man, we're so close," and but once we get it, it's going to be hard to stop us, and so I believe it. It's just going to take some time, but the Broncos better get together quick, because as they move throughout their schedule over the next couple of weeks, the competition will get very tough. So they've got to figure that out quick offensively and make sure that they're on their game and that the offense has some type of flow to it, some rhythm, getting that running game going with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, which is a very good backfield, one of the best backfield tandems in the league. I think next to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, of course, in Cleveland. But, they're a very, very good running back tandem, and then you got good receivers on the outside, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. They're hoping to get him more involved this year, as well as KJ Hamler, who has emerged as a very, very reliable receiver as well. So overall, you can see that the Broncos are trying. They're really working to get this offense right. And once they do, they feel like they're going to be a very successful team and a very difficult team to deal with. But until then, that defense is going to have to keep stepping up and making plays. It seems like every week there's got to be somebody step up for them, and it's just for this week it was the Broncos, the Broncos defense. They were the ones that came up big and held the 49ers to 1-10 on third downs, and they were just getting after Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo had a safety as well. And Dan Orlovsky was very happy because now everybody can talk about his Jimmy Garoppolo safety. Walking out the end zone, and Dan Orlovsky's safety that we all remember. But just an interesting tidbit there. And other winners on Sunday included the Green Bay Packers taking on the GOAT Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Packers get that win 14-12 over Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. The Bucs just really miss their receivers right now. They really need them. They need them so bad. The offense just is not sputtering without them, and they need those guys healthy. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Well, Mike Evans was suspended for a game. He'll be back next week. But Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Julio Jones. All these guys, all these pass catchers, and help solidify that core to make it one of the best cores it has been in over the past 2 years. And so that's what's going to be key for the Bucs to get a win moving forward. They're in dangerous waters now. They're at 2-1. They're all right, but they need to get a win, and that won't be easy going up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football next Sunday, and they're going to be really pissed because they lost to the Colts and Matt Ryan on yesterday. So they're hoping to get back on track, and pissed off Patrick Mahomes is not what you want to see if you're a defense. So Tampa Bay better prepare for that, because the Chiefs are going to be coming offensively. So that'll be an interesting game right there, and the Bucs desperately need that game to get some momentum back on the team on the sideline in that locker room as well. And they had a 2-point conversion. First, they got a delay game penalty. They had two. The rest missed the first one. Then they had another one that bumped them back 5 yards, and they couldn't convert the 2-point attempt. And Tom Brady was real pissed, and the Bucs lose the game. So I really think until they get everybody back and healthy in Tampa Bay, it's gonna be really hard for them to produce quality wins and and get back to their style of football. But moving forward in that, some teams are starting to impress me so far through the first 3 weeks of the season. The Jacksonville Jaguars, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Miami Dolphins. 2 of those teams are undefeated. Jaguars being the lone 2-1 team right there in my group. But they played a great game against the Chargers, and they won 38-16, I believe. And, Trevor Lawrence is looking better, much better in his second season. He's making his reads correctly. He's got, getting the ball out faster. He's looking much better than he did a year ago. And part of that has to do with Doug Peterson coming over, a guy who's worked with quarterbacks. He's been able to help quarterbacks mature. One of those being Carson Wentz and a few other guys. Getting the best out of Nick Foles. A guy that's been a backup. Been a backup most of his career, and he comes in. In Philly to fill in for Wentz, in that Super Bowl season, he does really well. So Doug Peterson is known to cater to his quarterbacks' needs, their special abilities, their talents, and form an offensive identity around that. And he was able to do that with Jalen Hurts so far through 3 games this season. Jalen Hurts has a lot of rushing touchdowns this year. I think he leads the league. Tied, I think, with a couple other quarterbacks as well. But he's in the top of the NFL in rushing touchdowns as well, passing as well, and so that's the thing with Philadelphia. Can they continue that success as they move on into the season? Can they continue to be able to run the football and pass it downfield? A.J. Brown has helped out with that, as we all knew he would. So can Philadelphia sustain that success? Can the defense continue to get better and improve, and hold on to those leads and, prevent offenses from driving down the field? That's another thing. Jonathan Gannon wants to see more of that, improvement from his squad, but they're playing well to start off the year. And I think the Eagles are a team to watch out for in the NFC. Even though it's only been 3 games, but we gotta watch out for the Eagles this year. They've been playing really good football, and they're determined to get to the playoffs and get a win, and get back to the winning ways that they had before. But the Miami Dolphins got their 3rd win of the season over the Bills yesterday. The Buffalo Bills down in Miami. It was hot, kind of muggy. Not making excuses for Buffalo, but down in Miami in September, not a fun place to play. Got guys cramping up and maybe dealing with some heat illnesses and things like that. Just muggy type of weather. Just you gotta just fight it and get after it. And it's hard. And if you're not hydrated properly throughout the week, it's gonna be hard to play in those types of environments, as opposed to the frigid cold up in Buffalo that those guys are used to on the Bills. So it was definitely a change of pace coming in down to Miami. But offensively, they were on the field for 90 plays, over 40 minutes of possession time. And there's really no reason as to why they were struggling offensively. If you look at it, then just Josh Allen had like a lot of maybe I believe he had 50 pass attempts in this game. So, it's one of those things where the Dolphins just really were bending but not breaking, and they bent a little bit, but they did not completely snap. They kept the Bills in check, and they were able to get the win there. But Ken Dorsey lost his mind. The offensive coordinator for the Bills, he was up in the booth just throwing his headset everywhere, that tablet. He was pissed because his team couldn't. His offense could not get anything going and get a win. So, but big thing here that we all saw was Tua Tagovailoa. He got hit on one play and hit the turf pretty hard. He got up stumbling a little bit. He went to the concussion tent for check for for the protocols for concussions. Test came out fine. He came back out into the game, but the NFLPA is launching an investigation into that whole situation right there to make sure that the team actually did correctly test Tagovailoa and just didn't send him right back out there. Because things like that you cannot do. There's certain rules to these things, and just for the player safety and for other reasons as well. But they're just going to launch an investigation to see if the Dolphins actually did a concussion test on Tua Tagovailoa. He came back into the game, of course, and led them to the win. But, he said that the stumbling was due to his back. He had some pain in his back that kind of altered his motor functions as well. Something along those lines. The Dolphins said the same thing when they spoke to Tagovailoa in the presser. So that's the reason why according to him, that he was stumbling around after he got up. So take with that what you will. But Dolphins moved to 3-0 on the year. They beaten the Bills, the Patriots. The Bills, the Patriots, and the Baltimore Ravens. With 3 great head coaches, 3 great teams. They've beaten them. Are the Dolphins? Do we need to start taking the Dolphins more seriously? I mean, they are impressing us. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and that offense that we all knew was going to be so good. The defense continued to be good, like they've been the last couple of years. The defense has always been a strong suit for the Dolphins, and now they're getting complimented by their offense, which is what you want. And when you have all those faces working together, you're going to have a winning football team. And that's what the Dolphins are trying to establish here: winning culture, winning franchise down there in Miami. So they're hoping to continue that success, and they were able to do so yesterday against Buffalo. Buffalo moves, of course, to 2-1 on the season. Miami moves to 3-0. Jags moved to 2-1. over the Chargers. Justin Herbert was playing hurt, no excuse for the Chargers overall, but they did have injuries. And, Rashawn Slater, their top left tackle, he's expected to miss the rest of the season with a ruptured bicep injury. Praying that he gets better and back onto the field as soon as he can. But Matt Jones also believed to have a high ankle sprain. He did not look good. He was crying in pain yesterday when they were carting him off to the locker room, walking to the locker room, and he was getting assisted off because he could not put any weight on that foot. He was in a lot of pain, and word is from the Patriots is that they believe it's a high ankle sprain, so that's usually a 4 to 6 week timetable to recover and heal. And that he's going to get an MRI done today, so we'll definitely know the results of that after. But prayers up to all those guys and everybody who's injured right now. Hopefully they get better and get back onto the field. You never want to see something like that. If you're a fan, a player, coach, that's when your human side starts to come into the game. So, but in other news, the Pro Bowl, the NFL's Pro Bowl game has been replaced. This just came out this morning by skills competitions in a flag football game, and the changes were made because the players, the coaches, and teams and the fans, they want the Pro Bowl to be done differently. They want to change, because the guys weren't trying, right? And they want to change, want it to be more entertaining. And last year's Pro Bowl game got the lowest viewership of all, of over just a little with only 6 million views or so. So not good. NFL was going to be replacing that game, like I said, with skills competitions, flag football games, other little contests as well, just to make it fun and entertaining, and involve some off the field things as well, also in accordance to the traditional game. It was time, I think, for a change. It doesn't really matter to me either way. I always thought the Pro Bowl was a popularity contest, to be truthful, because there's been a lot of snubs over the past couple years, and it's just the voting system is horrible to me. You got some, what you think in the comments about this new change. Is the game, is this going to make a difference? Are you going to sit down and watch the Pro Bowl this year, actually? Because now there's stuff like arm throwing contest and whatever races, these things that are going to be taking over, like games and everything like that. So in a flag football event, so. Are you guys going to watch or not? Let me know in the comments. But I think it's going, maybe it'll drop up the viewership a little bit. But overall, it's a Pro Bowl. So, but as we move on into week 4, we have one more game before week 4, and that's going to be the Giants and the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football, ESPN. Giants at 2-0. They're undefeated right now. Brian DeBall and his team going to play the Cowboys here at MetLife, and Cowboys are at 1-1, and they just want to get a game, winning another game, and get something going here. Cooper Rush, the starting quarterback, he wants to get that offense going. They want to get a win here in New York against the Giants, and it's going to be a division game, so it's huge for both sides. Dallas still dealing with a lot of injuries on the field, so it'll be an interesting game between these two teams right here. What I'm looking for most is how will the Giants' offensive line hold up against Micah Parsons in that Dallas pass rush, particularly Micah Parsons himself, because he is really the main star of that Dallas defense right now, him and Diggs. And so can Daniel Jones get that ball out quickly enough? Is he going to be able to get the ball out quick and have control over the game, not let Parsons get in his head or get rattled? Can the offensive line hold up in pass protection? That's going to be key. Evan Neal at right tackle against Micah Parsons is going to be the matchup I'm looking for most to in this game. And can they hold up? Can they hold up, give Daniel Jones time? Can they create holes for Saquon Barkley? We always talk about Parsons being a great pass rusher, which he is, but he can also stop the run. He's very good at that. Just an all-around freak athlete. He's good. And are they going to be able to create holes for the running back to run through? And so to maintain that balance, keep that balance offensively, to keep time off the clock, keep the Cowboys offense off the field. Can they do that? Keep those sustained drives going. That's what Brian DeBall and his team looking to do. And Wink Martindale, of course, just wants his defense to get after Cooper Rush. And, he's like, hey, Dak Prescott's not back there, so there's no reason we should be getting lit up. All right. So that's what he wants to see out of his defense. First year defense coordinator, Wink Martindale, and he wants to see his defense just get after Prescott. And Cooper Rush and make his life pretty hard. So it'd be interesting to see that, and he'll have some help with that because Azeez Ojulari, the Giants' top pick from last year, he had led the team with 8 sacks a year ago, and Kayvon Thibodeau, the top pick from this past draft, are both set to make their season debuts tonight. So you're going to have your 2 star pass rushers on the outside of just pinning their ears back and getting after it. So it'll be interesting to see how that all unfolds. You guys can catch that game at 8:15 on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN Deportes for your foreign telecast. And that is going to be Monday Night Football to wrap up our Week 3 here. And as we move into Week 4 of the NFL season, this is continuing to just be a great season so far. The Dolphins and the Bengals will play on Thursday Night Football. So we'll have more on that as the week goes on. But it's been just a recap of Week 3. A lot of teams getting their first win. Some teams some teams haven't got a win at all. The Las Vegas Raiders, and other teams are just starting to figure themselves out here early in the season. So something to be intrigued about as we move along here throughout the year. But thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of Jay's Fit Down, the football podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Gay. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. Subscribe, rate us, check us out. We got all the good football content here for you. Thank you, and you have a great day.